Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so today we're going to absolutely shatter everything you thought you knew about the cute, fluffy rabbit. I mean, we all picture them as these adorable, helpless little puffballs, right? Just bouncing around in 3D animated movies or sitting quietly in a pet store. But as we're about to see, behind that incredibly vibrant and cute aesthetic is a literally battle-tested survivor. They've got an evolutionary past that is, honestly, going to blow your mind.
So what do a 55 million-year-old fossil, a fake papal decree, and eating poop all have in common? Well, let's dive right into this and explore the fascinating and sometimes harsh reality behind the ultimate symbol of cuteness. Because when you actually look at the data, the rabbit's journey from the ancient world straight into your living room involves massive giants, massive historical hoaxes, and biological adaptations that are equal parts pure genius and, well, frankly, a little bit gross.
All right, let's start with Section 1, Ancient Evolutionary Origins. So, the absolutely crucial point to start with here is that rabbits, they're actually not rodents at all. I know. Despite the passing resemblance to mice or guinea pigs, they belong to a completely unique mammalian order called Lagomorpha. This includes rabbits, hares, and these tiny, adorable mountain-dwelling creatures called pica. But what's the ultimate defining difference? You gotta look at the skull. Lagomorphs have 4 upper incisors. That's a primary pair right in the front, and then a smaller, peg-like pair tucked right behind them. True rodents, they only have 2.
Let's take a look at the timeline. Going way back to 55 million years ago, we have the fossil of Gomphosalcoma, which was discovered in Mongolia's Gobi Desert. And what's so incredible about this ancient ancestor is that its hind legs were already twice as long as its front legs. That shows the hopping treat existed right from their earliest ancestors. Then, jump to between 3 and 5 million years ago, and we see the emergence of Neurolagus rex on the Spanish island of Minorca. Finally, looking at genetic evidence, it shows the ancestors of our modern domestic rabbits actually split off around 12,200 to 17,700 years ago. And get this, that split was driven by shifting glaciers during the last ice age, not early human intervention.
26 pounds. Just let that sink in for a second. That was the weight of Neurolagus rex, that prehistoric rabbit ancestor we just mentioned. Because it lived on an isolated island with absolutely no natural predators, it underwent what biologists call island gigantism. It basically grew to 6 times the size of a modern European rabbit. And honestly, because it didn't need to run away from anything, it actually lost its ability to hop entirely. So you have this massive, slow-moving, heavy-walking herbivore just lumbering around.
Moving right along to Section 2, the Great Domestication Myth.
Now, for decades, the universally accepted story about how rabbits got domesticated was this really neat little historical package. The story goes that in the year 600 AD, Pope Gregory the Great supposedly issued an edict declaring that unborn or newly born rabbits were technically fish, and this meant French monks could eat them during the fasting period of Lent. This allegedly sparked a mad dash by these monks to breed them in monasteries, basically creating the domestic rabbit overnight. Well, brace yourselves for the rug pull here. That never happened. None of it. Modern research reveals it was just a massive academic game of telephone. What actually happened is that 20th century scholars completely mistranslated a 584 AD text written by a totally different guy, Saint Gregory of Tours. He was just telling a story about some henchman named Roccolenus who dropped dead after eating young rabbits. So yeah, no papal decree, no monks suddenly inventing domestication.
Evolutionary biologist Gregor Larson really hit the nail on the head here. He says, when you use this terminology of domestication, there's an implied understanding, but when you start to actually dig at it, it just recedes from your fingertips. As modern DNA analysis proves, domestication wasn't some sudden lightning bolt event triggered by French monks. Not at all. It was this long, really complex, continuous process of human interaction. We're talking stretching all the way from Paleolithic hunting to Roman garden enclosures, then to medieval warrens, and finally culminating in the modern pet breeding we see today.
All right, that brings us to Section 3, Super Senses and Anatomy.
Now, while they might look like they're perfectly designed to be a plush toy, these adorable features, they're actually hardcore survival mechanisms. I mean, because they're prey animals, their eyes are placed high and on the sides of their skull, giving them this insane, nearly 360-degree field of vision. And their ears, they can rotate 270 degrees to act like literal radar dishes. Plus, those huge ears contain a massive network of blood vessels that act as a built-in air conditioning system. Since rabbits can't sweat, they actually pump blood into their ears to cool themselves down. Oh, and their teeth? They literally never stop growing. That requires a constant diet of tough, fibrous plants just to grind them down.
And here's a fun fact. Unlike dogs or cats, they don't have bare paw pads. The bottoms of their feet are entirely covered in thick fur for traction and protection.
But, every superpower has a kryptonite. Despite having that incredible, nearly perfect 360-degree vision that lets them spot a hawk diving from behind, they actually have a 10-degree blind spot right in the front. They literally cannot see what is directly under their chin or right in front of their nose. Instead, they have to rely on their whiskers and a highly attuned sense of smell to figure out what's immediately in front of their face.
Now let's get into the weird stuff. Section 4. Bizarre bunny biology. First things first, we need to completely erase the Bugs Bunny myth from our minds. I know pop culture has permanently linked rabbits to carrots, but biological reality tells a very, very different story. See, root vegetables like carrots are packed with carbohydrates and sugars. If you feed a rabbit a constant diet of carrots, you are going to cause severe dental decay and potentially fatal gastrointestinal issues. A true healthy rabbit diet absolutely must be 80 to 90% tough, fibrous hay and grass. That's the only way to keep those ever-growing teeth filed down and keep their highly specific digestive tract moving.
And speaking of highly specific digestion, we've got to talk about cecotrophy. Yes, rabbits eat their own poop. I know. But it's actually an incredibly advanced biological adaptation. To extract maximum nutrients from all that tough, low-calorie grass, their digestive system produces two types of droppings. One is the dry, hard pellet we've all seen, but the other is called a cecotrope. It's a soft, nutrient-packed cluster produced primarily at night. The rabbit will literally ingest these cecotropes straight from the source, so they can digest the plant matter a second time. It sounds super gross to us for sure, but for a rabbit, this built-in recycling system is an absolute biological necessity for survival.
You might also notice their sleep schedule is a little bit odd. Rabbits are not nocturnal, meaning active at night, and they aren't diurnal, meaning active during the day. They are actually crepuscular. This means their peak hours of activity are during the low-light transitions of dawn and dusk. Evolutionarily speaking, this is the absolute perfect time to forage because it's when the vision of their natural predators is at its worst. So if you have a pet bunny, you are basically harboring an ancient crepuscular survival machine right in your living room, and it is wide awake and ready to party at twilight. Now let's talk about why they're so famous for their reproductive rates. 1,300. That staggering number is the potential amount of descendants a single pair of rabbits can produce in just 18 months. Their gestation period is incredibly short. We're talking about 28 to 31 days. But here is their ultimate biological hack. Female rabbits can actually get pregnant with a new litter while they are actively nursing their current one. Their bodies are literally optimized to just out-reproduce the predators that constantly hunt them in the wild.
Yet, despite being prey animals with this incredibly intense evolutionary past, they have a remarkable capacity for joy. When a domestic rabbit feels completely safe and content in its environment, it performs something called a binky. They will randomly leap high into the air, twist their head and body in totally opposite directions, and kick their back legs out sharply. It's this adorable acrobatic dance of pure joy that really shows off their complex emotional makeup, at least once you strip away the stress of pure survival.
Wow, so we've covered millions of years of history, debunked massive historical myths, and looked deep into the bizarre internal workings of the rabbit. It really makes you appreciate the incredible legacy sitting right there in the hutch, doesn't it? I mean, if a 55 million year evolutionary journey turned a 26-pound, slow-moving giant into the poop-eating, 360-degree seeing acrobat hopping happily in your living room, what other pets are hiding a wild past? Next time you look at a domesticated animal, take a second to consider the millions of years of hardcore survival that shaped every single thing they do. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and definitely keep questioning what you think you know.